Well, I'm excited to welcome Caroline Sanabria with us this morning, all the way from San Antonio, Texas. Super glad to have you with us from LPT Realty. And I'm going to say it, you run a team, the Sanabria Group, and just happy to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me today. It's really an honor.
Oh, it's our privilege. And as we were talking a little bit kind of pre-show, the title of this podcast is The Mindset of a Champion. And, as we were speaking, moms, realtors, business people, we all have a champion within.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is to grab the mindset of different individuals from all over the country to see what drives them each day and even in their business. And so we want to get to know you a little bit better. We want the communities, even outside of the San Antonio area, to get to know you better as well. So glad to take this opportunity.
Of course. I love to do this and just, as if I can do anything to help anybody, even with a little comment, then by all means.
Great. Well, let's start with maybe tell us a little bit about how you got into the business, how long you've been doing it, who you work with and who you help, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, before I become a realtor, I was living in Colombia, so that's South America. I graduated as a graphic designer, so I was doing a lot of branding and digital marketing and all that stuff. When I moved over here to San Antonio, my husband is military, so we met in Colombia. We moved over here. I fell in love with the city, and as I was, transitioning in, I decided we started working as investments. So we started getting properties to fix and flip, and we learned through the experience of life. So we made mistakes and we learned from them. And okay, like eventually through the process, I said, well, it just makes sense if I got my real estate license. Here, I thought,
Exactly.
being a realtor is an easy job. It's finding houses and getting them under contract. Oh boy, little did I know. So I got my license in 2021
Okay.
and
Right
I
during a
drove,
pandemic.
yeah. So I was, doing so good with the investment side. I got my real estate license during that time and I stayed with a brokerage with my first brokerage for like around a year, but I did absolutely zero transactions my first year. Had no guidance, had no help, had nothing. I didn't even know
Mm.
how to do a contract for all means. Like,
Wow.
so I thought I was just gonna quit and I was just gonna stay with doing investments. And my husband was the one that kept cheering me on and telling me to keep pushing
Good.
forward. So I switched over to a different brokerage that gave me the tools that I needed. So I started getting better and getting my feet wet and started getting transactions. And then my business started growing to the point where it was all referrals. So I started getting just referral based transactions, and I noticed very on in my career that I wanted to have a relationship based business. So everything that I have and I have grown to has been through relationships. So that's pretty much how I started and how I've been. I've switched brokerages like 4 times already, but
Yeah.
it was until I found that right one. But yeah, that's pretty much my story.
What an impact, and that just shows that, there's so much opportunity and not every opportunity is for everyone. You might start somewhere and, it's all well-meaning, it all sounds good, but and there's no harm in moving somewhere else until you're happy. Because once
Yeah.
you're happy, now you can give the gift of happiness and help to other people. So that's really great that you found LPT and now you have your own team. And so let me ask you this: you service the San Antonio market specifically, but what's your market like out there? Can you tell us a little bit about the movement and people coming in and out, and why should someone move to San Antonio?
Of course. So San Antonio is a military city. We do have like 4 bases here. So a lot of
Mm,
military members are always moving here, moving out. So the market here has maintained relatively stable. So obviously with the pandemic, there was like a huge rise in where we were selling houses before it even hit the market over asking
Hmm.
price. It was just as crazy as every other state. Now that that's over, and now with the influx in interest rate, it has slowed down a little bit, but not to the point where it's stagnant. Like we're technically considered in a balanced market. Houses are still being sold under the 4 months, but we are in competition with a lot of builders in the sense that builders are
Hmm.
offering incredible incentives.
They
So
are.
yeah, homeowners are having a little bit of a tough time competing with that. However, they are still selling. It's just how you position the house, what the price point, how you're marketing it, all that thing.
Mm.
But yeah, houses are selling under 4 months. We're in a balanced market. Buyers are still buying. San Antonio is just beautiful. Like I was raised in Tampa and Colombia. So I was set on I wanted to move back over there. But once I
Hmm.
San Antonio, I was like, you know what? This is good. It's diverse in culture. There's every people that you want to see. Like we have them here. We have so much things. We have natural parks. We have the river downtown. We have so many pop culture icons here. And there's so much to see and so much to do. Not to mention that we are, I would like to say, like we are a big town in a small town feel, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
And we're close to
makes
everything. So
sense.
like, we have Austin an hour, Houston 3 hours away. So we're close to
They're
everything.
kind of in that triangle, like
Yeah,
almost like the, and Dallas
correct.
is far away either. It's that's more north.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 hours depending on the
Okay,
traffic.
so that
The
one's a
only
little
bad thing
further up.
is the traffic that we have, but I think that's everywhere.
Well, and I think um, I'm a big Southwest flyer. My wife and I, we fly Southwest everywhere, and I think that's where Southwest started, right in that triangle in there. I know it was Houston, San Antonio. It might have been either Dallas or Austin was the third, but so big fan of that area. And
Yeah. And
uh,
actually, our airport just also notified that they're expanding. So now we're doing a lot more direct flights starting from San Antonio. So less connections.
hey, that's great to hear. Now, somebody had told me, and I don't know who it was, but someone said, you know what? There's no inventory in San Antonio. It everything. Is that true?
That's a big lie. That's
Oh, I'm
a
glad to hear that.
big lie. We have a lot of inventory, not only for pre-owns, but also new builds everywhere. So big
Don't listen to the media. No, that's and
lie.
that's great because there's a lot of people transitioning. I know even from California, there's a lot of transitions. They're moving to Texas, they're moving to Arizona, they're moving to Florida, other parts of the country where either work takes them there or finances take them there. And looking at some of your properties you've been posting on social media, I mean, these are giant properties with beautiful homes. I'm looking at them right now, and the price points on them are so affordable. So, why wouldn't somebody want to work with a trusted realtor like you that says, check this place out? You get so much more for your buck. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
I mean, you should know you live in California. The prices out there are crazy expensive. And what
It's
you buy
outrageous.
here, yeah, you can buy something bigger here.
Bigger, nicer, newer. And, we have a lot of folks that are looking to retire. And this is not necessarily the place to retire unless they bought a house years and years ago. It's almost paid off or it's paid off. Okay, that's one thing. But folks that are, affected by the downturn of the market, which a lot
Hmm.
of people have, this is not a place that they're looking on their radar to retire. They're looking to get as much money as they can now and then move. When when they come to San Antonio, we're sending them to you.
Yes, please. I would love to help.
So, Caroline, a question. We did talk a little bit about economic challenges, economic downturn, a pandemic.
Hmm.
All of us have had to face that no matter what part of the country we're from. But I want to know, how have you had to make adjustments? What adjustments and pivots have you had to make in your business to stay successful like you are?
Well, like I said initially, my business has been mainly relationships. So it has been through them that my business has stayed afloat just because I always thrive to providing great experiences and being unique and always doing things differently from what other agents are doing. So I'm always looking at what is going on the market, what are other realtors doing that it's successful for them, and I don't copy other agents. I like to know what they're doing for their business and what can I take that I can adapt in my own way. So I'm always seeing what's going on and then adapting to it and obviously staying in touch. Because a lot of things, unfortunately, what happens is that realtors see their clients as a transaction. Once we
Yes.
find a house or once we sell it, we're done, moving on to the next, and so
Next.
on.
Yeah.
Yep. So in my case, I like to, stay consistent. We follow each other on social media. I send them occasional emails. I like to stay in touch through, pop buys, or I invite them to my multiple events that I do throughout the year. So all the time I'm always staying in touch with them, and they always think of me whenever a family or a friend is moving, or in their case, like if they're needing to relocate because they're military. So that's
Mhm.
one way that I've always been doing business, and that's how I'm always getting my business going.
Keep them
And
top of mind.
yes, staying top of mind is so important because if you're always trying to fish the next client, you're going to burn yourself out. And if the market crashes or something goes on and you're only dependent on what's going on in the market, you're going to have a really hard time. So instead of you
Absolutely.
killing yourself trying to get the next new fish, nurture the ones you already have.
Yes.
Because guess what? If you forget about them, you can get angry at them when they call another agent to
That's
help
right.
the business.
Yeah, the worst thing in the world is to have your friend, your family member, your past client, you come across them when you do finally get in touch with them, and they say, "Oh yeah, we just moved into our new house." You're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Well, that's on us. Somewhere,
Hmm.
some way, we didn't do what you just described as a fantastic technique that unfortunately sets you apart. Because shouldn't everybody be doing that? They should. But that's where those of you that are staying successful and have been successful even through tough times, you're doing the things that we should all be doing, but you're doing it better. And your success is showing that. That's really, really good.
One of my very first listings as a new agent was a $1.3 million listing.
Wow.
Got it by accident because I was going to an event and I door knocked the wrong house, and they were telling me they were looking to sell, but that they were going to consider the realtor that sold the house down the street. Well, I kept consistent and I kept in touch, and I got the listing obviously, but I asked them at the end, why did you choose me, especially you knowing I'm a new person? And they said, you were the only one that responded. We reached out to 3 different agencies. None of them reached back. They reached out to said agent. They never reached out. And I was the one that actually stayed there. I educated them. I was consistent, and they left my personality. So with all of that, I got it. And I sold that house under 30 days. So,
Wow. You just got to get on the soapbox for a second, The number one complaint I hear about lenders, about agents, they don't answer their phone. People call them, they're looking for help. They don't answer their phone. Or
mhm.
maybe 2 days later, 3 days later, they'll respond. Even a text. We all get, I can send somebody a message on social media and sometimes they'll respond right away. But when it comes to an agent or a lender, my goodness, when people want it, they want it now.
Yep.
And I'm so glad to hear that you highlighted that point because I actually did a video on social media about answer your phone, right? And I did another one called Just Say Something. And, because sometimes we have news that we need to share that, is a little disheartening, but we have a solution for it. But, sometimes things during a transaction happen where, in escrow, and we have to explain it to the borrowers, to the buyers, and even to the seller. And then we explain the solution and the strategy and we move forward. But
Hmm.
some people are even afraid to do that. They just go radio silence.
And it's funny you say that because I think that with all the regulations that are happening, a lot of agents are going to be afraid and they're going to come out because guess what? This is something that we should have already been doing, talking about our commissions. But
Yep,
since they were afraid, they were like, you know what? I'm just going to go with the flow. But now we're mandatory to talk about money and people get intimidated with money. But guess what? If you don't show your value and you don't show why they need you, they're not going
yes,
to hire you and they're not going to agree because why would I pay you thousands of dollars to just go open a door? Like I can do that myself. So what is the
sure.
value that you're bringing? But if you don't tell them, they are not going to know. So yeah.
Absolutely. Caroline, I'm so glad you mentioned that because this is going to be the subject of another podcast you and I do. I want to hit on the point of what value are you bringing to the table?
Mhm.
And we'll talk about that because I think that would be, especially for newer agents or even those agents that haven't been transparent, haven't been really pulling their weight, so to speak. Um, this might be an encouraging way for you
Oh,
to
that would be
show
great.
what you're doing. And they might say, you know what? If I just grind a little harder, if I respond, if I do these things that Caroline is suggesting, maybe I can stay in the business. Otherwise, we're
Yeah.
going to see an exodus. We're going to see,
Mm,
we've already seen it. We've seen interest rates went up, lenders left the business, whole brokerage shops closed down because they weren't doing the work. They were just sitting back waiting for phone calls to come in.
yeah.
They're not out there grinding. They're not out there door knocking with their realtor partners. They're not at the open houses with them, supporting them. They're not on social media commenting and sharing their posts. They're not doing the extra things that are winning the business right now.
Yep,
So I'm
exactly.
excited. I took a note of that. I'm gonna jot that down. That's our
I have
next
a
step.
lot to say about that. So that's definitely going to have to be a separate podcast.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. To wrap things up a little bit here, I always like to ask, and we kind of talked a little bit about it, but it's leading up to kind of the main point, the mindset of a champion. And as a champion team leader, um, and a champion in the San Antonio area, we've talked about things you've gone through, pandemics and all this stuff and what you've done. But now, for those people that will be listening to this, who may be struggling, should I stay in this business? If I do, what do I need to do? What advice would you have for them to be successful?
Well, aligning with the mindset that we're talking about, I have to say, because I've been there, you get overwhelmed, you think about all these negatives. Your mind is like a garden. So if you allow just one negative thought, those are just the past and they are going to take over your mind, your garden. So you have to have a list or you have to just combat it immediately with all the positives. What have you accomplished? Like, don't undersee everything that you have already accomplished just because of this. Like, when I started that first year that I did nothing, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not doing any transactions. I suck. I'm a terrible realtor. It's like,
Yeah.
no. You're not seeing the full picture. I am a great realtor. I do have great knowledge. I am helping families. And then once I start getting transactions, I'm like, actually, I am good. I actually am doing these things. You are what you believe. And if you believe
Mm,
that you are not successful, guess what? That's what you're attracting. You're not going to be successful. So you are what you attract. Start telling yourself that you are capable, you are successful, you are great, and you're going to believe it eventually. But it's not only saying it, you actually have to do it too. You have to constantly be educating yourself. You have to constantly get out of your shell. Guess what? Being a realtor is not for the soft skin. It's not an easy career.
hmm.
You have to get out there. You have to do things that you don't like. But only because you don't like it, it does not mean that it's not good. Like you have to cold call, you have to door knock, you have to do social media, you have to put yourself out there because if you don't, how are they going to know you? How are they going to know that they need you? They need to
Hmm.
see you and they need to see you authentically. You can't pretend to be something that you're not. You're not going to
That
be
is
everybody's
well
cup of
said.
tea.
Yeah. You know what? You nailed it. And those nuggets of wisdom that have helped you be successful, help you win over other realtors that are not willing to do that. That is what, if people heed that advice, then they could be on the pathway to success as well. And hey, my beautiful wife just came in. Hi, honey. um, So I think that's so important that we discuss these things because, and I can see kind of a few more different podcasts on related subjects here that'll be coming up. But I really thank you, Caroline, for spending the time to share, get to know your business, get to know your market. You countered the lie that there's no inventory in that area.
Mm-hmm.
We know that that's not the case because we can see it on your social media. You're helping families every day, and
Yes.
that's such a good thing. Well, thank you again very much, Caroline Sanabria from the LPT Realty and the team lead of the Sanabria Group. I really thank you for your time this morning and all the adjustments you had to make in your schedule to be on this podcast, The Mindset of a Champ.
No, thank you, John, for everything and for accommodating me. It was really a pleasure to be part of this.
Well, we'll do it again soon.
Yes, would love to.